Hello and welcome to the next video in the Doctors Are In series. This is a collaboration series with Irit Landgraf and myself. We're two scrapbookers who happen to be doctors in our day jobs from two different continents, give you two different takes on solutions to what ails your creative body and soul. All weekend on Irit's channel and my channel, we're talking about using mini kits. And so we posted videos yesterday that showed the mini kits that we made, and the two of us had quite different approaches to selecting items from our stash to use to scrapbook two layouts this weekend. And our goal in doing this series is to get you guys motivated to get to your scrapbooking room and start working and playing with your supplies. So this is actually the second project I'm making with this kit. The first one was called Mall Rat, so you can check that out on my channel if you're interested or if you missed it. I'm going to start by trimming down this 4x4 photo. It's actually a tiny bit smaller than 4x4 because it does have a border around it, but I printed it at 4x4 with a border, and I am just, I don't know, there must be something stuck to my mat there. Sorry about that. Anyhow, I'm going to get started, and I have this kit, and it's actually, I thought it was a little bit too big of a kit at first, but I don't think it was, because I'm the kind of scrapbooker, because I don't plan anything, I need to have a lot of options when I'm working with a kit. So I need a fair size kit just for my style of scrapbooking. So at first I'm thinking about using this color blocked background paper as my background, and it is from the Saturday collection from Dear Lizzie. And when I first saw this paper, I thought it would make a really cool background, and I thought maybe I could insert little wedge triangle pieces of pattern paper, but that really wasn't working for me, so I quickly changed my mind and decided to use this piece of pink cardstock as my background. And then I also have a piece of scrap gray paper. It's also cardstock, and it actually has a wet hand print on it. So I'm trying to place my photo so that it covers the little wobbly part of the paper where it's just a little bit water damaged. And so I'm also taking the strip from this piece of Chamel paper. It's the one that had cameras on it, and I actually chose the entire piece of 12 by 12 paper. I just chose it with the idea that I would cut out one tiny camera. So it's nice that I'm also going to get to use the manufacturer's strip from it. It's that white and pink polka dot that you see up there with a little tiny chunk out of it. The manufacturer's strip was that little diagonally striped pink and cream strip that I have running at the bottom. Now, this is a piece of paper from the Take Me Away collection from Paige Evans. It's from Crate Paper, and I thought that this beautiful blue would make a really nice matte for this photo. I like to matte my photos in a bold pattern paper that reads as a solid, or just a solid like a piece of cardstock. So then I have this other piece of paper here, which is it's a colorful striped pattern on the back, and that's actually what I chose it for, was that colorful striped pattern. It's from my scrap bin, and it's made by Scraptastic. And in this case, I decided to use the other side of it, which is this kind of large dotted dot pattern, and I'm going to use this as another horizontal strip across this layout. So this layout is going to be very horizontal, lots of horizontal lines on it. So I'm going to overlap those two pieces of paper like that, and then I have that strip at the bottom, and I'm thinking about playing with the idea of having this layout be a little bit off balance, meaning I'm going to have strips and some paper and decorations on the bottom of this page, but not at the top. So usually I'll put strips of paper at the bottom and strips of paper at the top, but in this case I want the top to have more of an airy feel. So I'm taking this paper from the Cute Girl collection from Crate Paper, which was one of the ones I chose for my kit. Every single thing I'm using here is from the kit. And you can check out my kit video if you didn't see that. I'll link it. So I'm just taking, again, I'm using lots of B-sides on this project. These are not the sides that I actually chose for this kit, which is another good example of how I don't really plan my projects, and so having a wider selection than what I think I need is probably going to be what works best for me. So I just tore 2 strips of that darker pink paper from the Cute Girl collection, and I ran a strip of it kind of layered underneath of that diagonal striped paper at the bottom, and another bit of it poking out above the gray piece of cardstock. And now I feel like I need another layer, another horizontal piece that's going to run behind my photo and layer it with the other pieces that are there. So I like the yellow on this piece of geometric paper. It's also from the Saturday collection from Dear Lizzie. And the first strip that I cut was just not quite big enough, so I cut a different strip. And I like how these layer. I like the fact that that top piece of paper, the geometric print, extends out past the layer below it. And I did use my border punch on that other layer of the Scraptastic paper. And now I'm going to outline. And this is, as I was doing this, I actually went off the page a whole lot. And I was kind of feeling like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do my outlining? It's kind of like my thing, and I was really messing it up big time. I just like went off the edge of the page over and over and over again. And so when that happens and things are looking a little bit messier than you would like, one approach to fixing that is to make it look like you made it messy on purpose. So I just went back and did multiple outlines. Multiple outlines almost always looks messier than single outlines. And then I just added a couple of little scribbly doodly marks, like some hashtags and some little scallops. And then I also outlined the scallop. Now, outlining scallops will almost always look messy, so I try to always do like a double or triple outline when I'm doing scallops, because it's just hard to make them look nice. It just looks better just messy, because then it looks like you did it on purpose. So, one thing about this scrap session is that I actually had a friend come over and join me. My friend Stephanie was with me for this one, and I find that scrapbooking from a kit is a really great idea when you're scrapbooking with a partner, because it means that you don't have to be going all over your room trying to find what you need and grab things and get your friend to move out of the way so that you can get at the drawers where they're sitting and that sort of thing. So kit scrapbooking is really good for that. Or for when you go to a crop, of course, because then you just only bring what's in your kit or a few other supplies. So these horizontal pieces that are going to span the whole width of the page, I'm only outlining them on the horizontal. So I'm not outlining the little bits that will touch the edges of the paper, if you know what I mean. So I'm not going to be outlining the vertical lines on these strips, and that will just make it look like these are bands of paper that span the whole width, instead of enclosing them in the vertical lines. And so what that does is it just emphasizes the horizontal nature of this project. So this is my overall design. This is what it's going to look like. You saw me snap a picture of it before I did my outlining. And look what I did when I was putting it back together. I put it so that wet handprint is not under my photo anymore. I totally goofed. And so so yeah, it's going to be somewhat covered by the other layers, but it is like the wobbly part of it, just the part that's warped from the water, is actually going to show. But it's okay, because this layout does have quite a messy, casual, kind of slapped together look to it. And I like that. I like to have projects that are kind of messy looking. Now, that dark pink paper, the pattern paper that has the torn edges, and there are 2 strips of it on the project, I did not outline those because I felt like there was already enough contrast. It's quite a dark pattern paper, and then the contrast between that and the layers that it's against just seemed like it was enough for me, and I didn't want too many black lines going on this project. I'm feeling like this needs a little something else, so I'm looking through what's left in my kit, And I'm actually feeling like this kit might not be big enough for me, but I'm actually wrong because I'm overlooking some of the embellishments that I had put in this kit. I had in a tray beside the kit, and I just forgot to grab it. So I will discover that pretty soon. For now, I'm looking at these balsa wood embellishments that came with the Take Me Away collection from Pink Paisley. Wait a minute, I think I've been saying that collection was from Crepe Paper, but it's not. It's from Pink Paisley. Sorry about that. Anyhow, I'm having a look at these embellishments and feeling like they're just too light and airy. So I'm picking out these stickers instead. These are varnish stickers from the Saturday collection from Dear Lizzie, and they're going to provide a little bit more nice heavy black bold contrast. If they make it onto the layout, they would. And so I thought about taking that chipboard frame from Take Me Away, also from Pink Paisley, and I was going to use it to frame in some journaling, and I still might. I'm keeping it over to the side there. And now I'm just having a look at these stickers and, fondling them a little bit. Stickers are my second favorite thing to fondle. My first favorite is wood veneers. So I'm thinking that these stickers might make a really nice addition to this page, but none of them are really phrases that work with the story that I want to tell with this project. So I'm moving on over to the chipboard stickers from Cute Girl, and see how there's lots of black elements, and there's also lots of black outlining around some of the elements. But again, these are not thematically what I'm looking for, although there are lots of neutral shapes in this, like hearts and stars. And so see me grab that little heart. I'm going to come back to that eventually, but I'm leaving it there. I thought I would be able to use one of these frames. And what I think I'll use it for is either to frame in my title or to frame in some journaling. And so there are some frames down there in the bottom, what ends up being the bottom left-hand corner of that chipboard sheet. And so I'm going to pick up these varnish stickers and start thinking about how I might be able to use some of the more neutral ones, because I really like the black of them, and I think that it's going to add some interest to this layout that so far is feeling a little plain and not too interesting. It just lacks oomph at this point. It's a good base, and I like the structure of it. I like the idea of a bottom weighted layout because it's just different for me. Again, I'm kind of playing around a little bit with breaking design rules and just kind of trying to play around and see what else looks good besides your standard, visual triangles and balancing and that sort of thing. So I really like these stickers and I would love to use more of them, but none of these phrases are either going to work, or the ones that would work aren't going to fit in the places where I'd like to put them. So I'm working with what I have, so I'm going to move on from that idea and just leave those varnish stickers out just in case I can figure out how to use them. I'm going to pop this photo up with Pop Dots. These are actually not Pop Dot brand, but they are Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive, which I love and talk about a lot. And so I have the photo, it's popped up off the page a little bit, which again gives it a little bit more interest. So I'm now going to have a look at these stickers. And again, I'm looking for black elements to add at this point. I feel like that's going to help this layout in terms of providing some contrast and interest. So I grabbed this chipboard frame that I was talking about earlier, and I combined it with this cut apart from I think it's from the Saturday collection from Dear Lizzie. And while I was at it, I grabbed the little, accent card that I thought about using as well. It wasn't a very sunshiny day, so it doesn't make good sense, but I really liked the look of it and I liked the splash of yellow. So I'm going to play around with maybe using it on there, but I'm not going to end up doing it. It's wrong in too many ways. It's only right in a few ways and it's mostly wrong, so I'm not going to use it. I'm not opposed to putting things on my layout that are a little bit random or kind of like, like that unicorn, for example. I'd like to use that somewhere. But that one was, like I said, that sunshine one was just wrong in too many ways. So I am now looking through the embellishments that I had, and I completely forgot that I had put this set of embellishments out in my kit. And so this really increases my options, and I immediately chose this banded color die cut piece, and I thought it would make a really nice home for this Take Me Away journaling card that I created. Pardon me. So I'm still kind of messing around a little bit, and I can't seem to get my throat cleared, so I'm sorry about that. Anyhow, I'm still playing around a little bit with that sunshine card, which just isn't going to work. Neither is the Totes Adorbs, as cute as that is. It's just not appropriate for the story that I'm telling. But I love these little tassels from crepe paper. I think, yeah, they're from the Take Me Away collection from Crepe Paper, and I love them. At first, I thought I didn't know how on earth I would use them, but it turns out that I've used them quite a bit, and I'm really liking them as a unique little embellishment. So I added one of those clips that I had put in my kit, and that's from Take Me Away as well. No, it's not. It's not from Take Me Away. It's from Cute Girl. And then again, some more, that yellow tag is also from Cute Girl, and so is the Love You that I'm playing around with there. And then these are from the Kiss Kiss collection from Crepe Paper, these little brads, heart-shaped brads. And then that little floral, that little fabric flower is just a homemade embellishment that Craft and Kate sent me a while ago, and I'd love to get that on this page too. So here is this, what you see right here is pretty much the way the layout is going to look, and then I'm just going to add some embellishments to it as well. So I needed to put something between, like behind that tag that's going to span that gap that ran between the tag and then the top edge of the photo. And now I'm just going to take a little tool. This is a basic gray sanding tool, actually. And I'm just going to use it to pry off the little backing of the brad so that isn't a brad anymore. It's just a acrylic piece or an enamel piece of some sort. And then I can just use a glue dot to glue it onto my project wherever it needs to go and not have to worry about poking holes and all that jazz. So I'm using my tiny attacher to put this little tassel on. This is what I did in my last layout too, and I liked the look so much that I decided to repeat it here. And I just pulled apart the little hoop that goes on the tassel and took it off. The tiny attacher does an okay job of attaching it. It took me 2 tries, but I got it on there. Okay. Now I'm just using some linen thread from Stampin' Up. Linen string, actually it's not really thread. And then I'll attach the tag to that other piece, and then I will see how I'm just kind of spacing it out there, and then I'll attach the photo to the other pieces. And then the last thing I do is I will put that little roller rink tag. And that's an example of how, see how I don't always follow a theme. There's no roller rink here, but I don't know how else I would ever use that tag, because I'm not going to scrapbook about roller rinks because that's not something that's in my life right now. So I just decided to go with it. It's such a small element that I don't think it matters that it's not fitting with the theme. That chipboard banner, by the way, that's gold, is from the Take Me Away collection, those chipboard stickers that are sitting over to my right. They're actually thickers, I think. I think they're branded as thickers. So I'm thinking that this layout just needs a little something. It needs some more black, so I'm having a look. There's a cutout camera from Scraptastic that I could put to add some black, but it's a little bit too big, and I would rather have black spread all around the project than have one giant camera that's black. So I remembered that my machine happens to be threaded in black thread already, so that was an easy choice for me to make. I'm going to do a combination. I'm starting up in the top left-hand corner of my project to provide a little bit of accent stitching that will balance out the most of the stitching, which I plan to do in another place, but I just want my stitching to show up in 2 places instead of just one. So that is some zigzag and straight stitching, and it's really messy. And now my idea here here was that I would make some stitches that go zigzaggy, but mostly in a straight line, and that I would do a couple of lines of them, and then I might do my journaling on those stitches. So use the lines as lines for journaling. That was my idea, but I'm not going to actually go with that. Now, when I made this line, as soon as I take it out, I notice, look at that. You can't see it because I'm holding it up too high, but it's crooked. So Stephanie suggested that I just go back over it again and just kind of make it look like it was kind of on purpose. Like these are just messy stitches anyways. So that was a good idea that she had. I just decided to go back over it, and it looks good that way. It looks less like it was accidental and more like these are just messy stitches anyways. So again, I guess the theme here in terms of learning from this project is that when things turn out messy, just go with it instead of trying to fix it. Just going with it is okay. It gives you a nice casual, almost like a whimsical look when you have messy things on your project, whether it's messy outlining or messy stitching. So here, this is going to add a little oomph to this, and it was a little bit too long, but I really like how that looks. It's going to take me a while to figure out where to put it, but there we go. And putting that down at the bottom there adds some weight to that bottom strip, which was otherwise kind of being ignored, and I didn't want it to necessarily be ignored. So I put it down there to draw a little bit more attention down there because I plan to do something down there, like maybe a date or a little bit of journaling. I'm not entirely sure. Again, boy, do I ever want to use those stickers. I keep coming back to them over and over again, but nope, not going to happen. Here's a good spot for this little flower to live. And I'm thinking hearts. I need some hearts. And this cute girl sticker set, the chipboard stickers, have a nice selection of black outlined hearts. So it's perfect because they're black outlined. So the black gives you the weight that I'm looking for, but it's not too weighty. I don't want it to be... I don't want there to be too much black. There's already that large black heart that says sweet and the scallop. And I want to get this scallop on there too, but I'm just kind of having a bit of trouble with where to put it. I thought I'd play around with the idea of maybe floating it. This is actually the next morning, so the lighting is a little bit different, even though there's no light, no windows in my room. So I just used a glue dot to put that flower, that fabric flower on, and now some of these chipboard pieces lifted off in a funny way and left their sticky part back behind on the sticker sheet. So I just used some glue for the ones that needed it. And now I'm finally going to adhere my main piece of this layout onto the background. And I just overlapped it so that that sweet heart is sticking out a little bit to the side. And again, I'm just kind of thinking about what final touches I might want to add to this one. It feels like it's not quite done. So I'm looking around, and at the same time I'm thinking about, am I going to add some mist to this, and what kind of a title do I want, and where am I going to put my journaling? So those are all the things I'm considering right now. These are the same letter stickers that I used on my last project with this kit. And as you see, I had picked out several different options for mini market stickers, and that's just because that's what I like to do. I like to have lots of options. So these are October afternoon mini market stickers. I just hopped onto Instagram to check out and make sure that I was remembering the name of this place. I had actually never heard of this place before. It's in my own province, and it is home to the world's largest tides, which I thought the world's largest tides were in New Brunswick, but I don't know how they determine these things. But apparently, according to the sign, this is actually where the world's highest tides are. So we had brought Pascal's brother, Marcel, one of the people in the photo there is our international student, and we had brought Marcel to the flower pot rocks in New Brunswick, which we had told Marcel that they were the largest tides in the world. And now we realize that we have our own high tides here in Nova Scotia, which of course we knew because the Bay of Fundy goes between the two provinces. So we both have it, we share it. And so we thought we'd bring Pascal to a different version of the same thing. And this was more local and a closer drive. And my sister doesn't live in New Brunswick anymore, so we don't have a place to stay when we're in New Brunswick. So we decided to just stay in Nova Scotia and see our own high tides. So my journaling reads, somehow we had never been to this beach, home of the largest tides in the world, right in our backyard. And so the photo shows us, we're actually on the ocean floor because the tide is low. And this particular beach there's not quite as much to explore as there is at the Flower Pot Rocks, but it's a lot less popular. So there were way fewer people there, which meant that you have free reign anyways, but it was actually kind of nice that there weren't a whole bunch of people in the backgrounds of all of our photos when we took our photos. And they have similar rocks. They don't have exactly the same. They don't have as many interesting little islands that then they're not islands anymore once the water's gone. I don't know how to explain that. But anyhow, they don't have quite as many of those, but it's still lots of fun to climb on the rocks and have a look at the things that are left behind on the ocean floor when the water goes off into the ocean. So I'm writing this journaling. It says, I think I already read it to you, but I wrote my journaling with a white gel pen, and it came out a little bit too light. And also because I was writing on textured paper, I just decided to do a second layer of it. So I wrote it all out, and then I just wrote over it all over again, just very, very carefully so that it wasn't too messy. And that makes it a bit of a thicker line, a bolder line. It makes it more white and just a little bit easier to read, and it stands out a little bit more. Then I took my Chamel gray pen and I did my next bit of journaling, which says, one of the best parts of hosting international students is getting out and exploring Nova Scotia with them. We discover some real gems. And this is an example of one of those gems. So we thought it was kind of cool that both Marcel and Pascal, who are brothers, Marcel was with us 2 years ago, both boys got to see low tides at the Bay of Fundy, but they got to see it in slightly different ways so that their experiences, while similar and equal, they're a little bit different and unique to each of them. So after I added my mini market title with October Afternoon stickers, I went back and sewed over it, and look at that. My tension on my bobbin is so off that the bottom thread actually fell completely out. So I just headed back to my sewing machine and ran that through one more time. I didn't bring my camera with me because it looks exactly the same. So then I just had to kind of redo that stitching. I had the washi tape out anyway, so I just slapped it down back there just to make sure that that particular part of the sewing was nice and reinforced, because I planned to pull up some of those letter stickers just to add a little bit of extra interest. And look, I found a home for that little bit of scalloped chipboard. And that gives me a nice visual triangle in those 3 places where the black chipboard is. And it just kind of finishes off this one. I'm going to check the date of my Instagram photo and grab my Studio Calico roller date stamp. And I chose the one that says, kind of a big deal, because it is kind of a big deal to be walking on the ocean floor. I'm using my Stampin' Up! Basic Gray ink, which is completely dry now. I've been saying I need to get a refill for that one forever, and I haven't gotten it, and now I actually have to get another refill. So the only other gray ink I have is this Mama Elephant gray pigment ink, so I use that instead. I prefer dye ink, but this looks okay. And now I'm just kind of taking stock of what I've got here and looking for any final touches. I decided to use this star confetti that came in the Cute Girl collection from Crepe Paper, and it's really cute. It's got these little stars. Some of them are a matted gold and some of them are a shiny mint color. They're really cute. I love them. And so I'm just using my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive to adhere those down approximately where they landed. I did move them around a little bit, as you saw. Now, the key to using Tombow Mono Multi or any kind of liquid glue on a flat embellishment like this is to use just a tiny little smear. Like, I don't use it's not a full dot of adhesive. I just kind of smear a little bit so that it's on there pretty flat, and it looks like it's not going to be enough, but this glue is so strong that it holds really well. And if I put any more on than what I did, it would definitely ooze out around the edges of those stars, and I definitely don't want that. So here's what this layout looks like up close. There's that little accent stitching and a little cluster of hearts. And then you see that journaling, I'll come to it in a second, the white journaling is a little bit messy feeling, messy looking, I guess, but it kind of fits with the messy look of this layout anyways. So once I made that first mistake with the outlining and it was messier than I wanted it to be, and I just decided to run with it, then the whole rest of the layout it frees up the whole rest of the layout to take on a real messy feel. And I kind of like that. It's nice that scrapbooking is so forgiving and you can just run with things, even if it doesn't go the way that you initially planned. So I hope that you have enjoyed this process video. Make sure that you check out what Irit is doing on her channel, because as you know, she has a completely different style than I have. And I actually can't wait to see her beautiful layouts. I haven't seen them yet, so I'm going to hop on over to her channel right now and have a look at her process videos and see what she came up with. If you make a mini kit and scrapbook some layouts from it, be sure to tag us on social media so we can have a look. And if you have any ideas of things you would like us to cover in future episodes of The Doctors Are In, just let us know by leaving a comment below. Thanks so much for watching and have a really great scrappy week.